Why does finding your purpose have to hurt so much? You've watched others seem to glide effortlessly into their calling while you've been dragged through fire, rejection, loss, and suffering. And somewhere in the middle of your pain, you've wondered if God even has a purpose for your life, or if you're just destined to endure hardship without meaning. But what if the pain isn't blocking your purpose? What if it's revealing it? Pain strips away false identities so your true calling can emerge. The first reason God uses pain to reveal your purpose is because most of us build our identity on things that have nothing to do with our actual calling. We define ourselves by our job title, our relationship status, our achievements, our appearance, our social standing. And as long as those false identities remain intact, we'll never discover who we truly are. So God, in His mercy, allows pain to dismantle what we've falsely built so the real foundation can be exposed. When Joseph was 17, he had dreams of greatness. He saw himself ruling, leading, being honored. But he also had an arrogance problem. He was his father's favorite, and he knew it. He flaunted his special coat. He shared his dreams in ways that made his brothers hate him. His identity was wrapped up in being preferred, being special, being destined for greatness. And if God had elevated Joseph in that state, the power would have destroyed him. So God allowed the pain, the pit, the betrayal, the slavery, the false accusation, the prison, the forgetting. For 13 years, everything Joseph thought defined him was systematically stripped away. He wasn't favored anymore. He was forgotten. He wasn't special. He was a slave. He wasn't destined for a throne. He was rotting in a dungeon. And in that stripping process, something profound happened. Joseph's identity shifted from being Jacob's favorite son to being God's faithful servant. When Pharaoh's cupbearer finally remembered him, and Joseph was brought before Pharaoh, Genesis 41 verse 16 records his response to interpreting dreams. I cannot do it, but God will give Pharaoh the answer he desires. That's not the same Joseph who once bragged to his brothers. This is a Joseph whose identity has been rebuilt on the right foundation. The pain didn't destroy his purpose, it revealed it. He was never meant to rule because he was special. He was meant to serve because he was surrendered. Your pain is doing the same thing. That career that collapsed wasn't just a setback. It was God removing an identity that was never meant to define you. That relationship that ended wasn't just heartbreak. It was God extracting you from a definition of yourself that was rooted in being someone's partner instead of God's child. That reputation that was damaged wasn't just unfair. It was God dismantling an image you were maintaining that had nothing to do with your actual calling. The false identity has to die before the true calling can live. And death hurts. The stripping process is painful. You'll mourn what you thought made you valuable. You'll grieve the version of yourself that people applauded. But underneath all of that, underneath the titles, the achievements, the relationships, the reputation, there's a person God created with specific purpose. And that person can only emerge when everything else is stripped away. Moses thought he was destined to deliver Israel while he was still in Pharaoh's palace. He had the position, the education, the access to power. But when he tried to fulfill that calling in his own strength, he killed an Egyptian and had to flee for his life. For 40 years, Moses lived in obscurity, tending sheep in the wilderness. Everything he thought made him qualified to lead, his education, his position, his connections, was completely irrelevant in the desert. But it was in that desert, with his false identity completely stripped away, that God appeared in a burning bush and revealed Moses' actual calling. And Moses' response? Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt? The arrogant prince was gone. In his place stood a humble shepherd who finally understood that the calling wasn't about who Moses was. It was about who God is. Your pain is bringing you to that same place. When everything you thought defined you is gone, when all your qualifications feel meaningless, when you're standing in your own wilderness wondering who you even are anymore, that's when God can finally show you who you've always been meant to be. Because your purpose was never about the stuff you accumulated or the image you projected. It was always about the person God created when He formed you in your mother's womb. And pain is just removing everything else so you can finally see it. Pain creates empathy that directs you toward your assignment. The second reason God uses pain to reveal your purpose is because your calling is almost always connected to your greatest hurt. The thing that wounded you most deeply is often the thing God will use you to heal in others. Your pain isn't random, it's directional. It's pointing you toward the people you're meant to serve and the problem you're meant to solve. Think about it. Who's more qualified to help someone overcome addiction? Someone who's read about it in a textbook, or someone who's fought that battle in their own life? Who can better minister to someone going through divorce? A counselor with a degree, or someone who survived their own marriage falling apart? Who can speak with more authority to someone battling depression? A person who studied mental health, or a person who's climbed out of that dark pit themselves? Your pain gives you credentials that no education can provide. It gives you empathy that no amount of training can develop. It gives you authority that no certification can grant. And God often allows you to experience deep pain because the purpose He has for you requires deep empathy. You can't lead people out of a prison you've never been in. You can't offer hope for a battle you've never fought. You can't speak authority over a giant you've never faced. Look at Jesus. Hebrews 2 verse 18 says, "Because He Himself suffered when He was tempted, He is able to help those who are being tempted." Jesus' pain gave Him empathy. His suffering equipped Him to understand ours. He didn't just know about human pain theoretically. He experienced it. He felt rejection, betrayal, abandonment, physical torture, and ultimately death. Why? So that when we're going through those same things, we know He understands. His pain positioned Him to fulfill His purpose of redemption. Your pain is doing the same thing. That abuse you survived isn't just your past. It's your preparation for helping others escape abuse. That betrayal you endured isn't just your wound. It's your wisdom for teaching others how to trust again. That loss you experienced isn't just your grief. It's your gift for comforting others who are grieving. That mental health battle you're fighting isn't just your struggle. It's your strength for encouraging others who are struggling. God is allowing you to walk through specific pain because there are specific people who will need exactly what you're learning. Your pain is creating a curriculum. Every tear is a lesson. Every dark night is training. Every moment you survived when you wanted to quit is preparing you to tell someone else, "Don't quit. I know it hurts. I know it's hard, but you can make it because I made it. And the same God who carried me will carry you." Paul understood this. In 2 Corinthians 1 verse 4, he wrote, "Who comforts us in all our troubles, so that we can comfort those in any trouble with the comfort we ourselves receive from God." The comfort isn't just for you. It's so you can comfort others. The breakthrough isn't just for your benefit. It's so you can help others break through. The healing isn't just about you getting better. It's about you becoming a healer. And here's what's powerful. When you finally step into that purpose, when you finally start using your pain to help others, something shifts in you. The pain that once felt meaningless suddenly has meaning. The suffering that once felt like waste suddenly has worth. You look at what you went through, and instead of asking, "Why me?" you start saying for them. Because you realize that your pain wasn't just about you enduring something. It was about you being equipped to help others endure something. Your purpose is on the other side of your pain, but you have to walk through the pain first. You have to let it shape you, teach you, develop in you the empathy and authority you'll need for the assignment. And when you finally arrive at that purpose, when you're sitting with someone who's going through exactly what you went through, and you can look them in the eye and say, "I understand," you'll finally see why God allowed you to hurt. Because that pain wasn't destroying your purpose, it was revealing it. Pain forces you to discover gifts you didn't know you had. The third reason God uses pain to reveal your purpose is because comfort keeps you operating in familiar patterns. But pain forces you to discover capabilities you never knew existed. When life is easy, you use the same skills, the same strategies, the same strengths. But when pain comes and those familiar tools don't work anymore, you're forced to dig deeper. And in that digging, You discover gifts that were buried under layers of comfort and routine. David discovered he was a warrior when he was just a shepherd boy. 1 Samuel 17 verses 34 to 35 records David telling Saul, "Your servant has been keeping his father's sheep. When a lion or a bear came and carried off a sheep from the flock, I went after it, struck it, and rescued the sheep from its mouth. When it turned on me, I seized it by its hair, struck it, and killed it." Nobody knew David had that in him, including David himself, until a predator threatened what he was responsible for protecting. The pain of that moment, the terror of facing a lion, the pressure of protecting the flock, the life-or-death nature of the fight, forced David to discover a warrior's courage he didn't know he possessed. And that discovery in the field with the sheep prepared him for another fight years later with a giant named Goliath. If the lion had never come, David would have never discovered the warrior inside him. The pain revealed the gift. Think about the woman with the issue of blood in Mark 5. For 12 years, she suffered. She spent everything she had on doctors who couldn't help her. And in that desperation, she did something radical. She pushed through a crowd, risked public humiliation, and reached out to touch Jesus' garment. That woman discovered a faith she didn't know she had, a boldness she didn't know existed in her, a determination that pain unlocked. Jesus said to her, "Daughter, your faith has healed you." Not his power alone, her faith. The pain created the desperation. The desperation created the boldness. The boldness accessed the power, and the power revealed her purpose. She didn't just get healed that day. She became a testimony. Her story has encouraged millions of people for thousands of years to press through their pain and reach for Jesus. That's purpose, and it was revealed through pain. Your pain is unlocking gifts in you right now. That struggle with anxiety is teaching you how to fight spiritual battles you never knew you were capable of winning. That financial crisis is revealing a creativity and resourcefulness you didn't know you possessed. That betrayal is developing in you a discernment and wisdom that comfort never would have produced. That illness is showing you a strength and resilience that you would have never discovered in health. God isn't wasting your pain. He's using it to excavate gifts that were buried too deep for comfort to reach. You're discovering you can endure more than you thought. You can forgive deeper than you imagined. You can trust when circumstances say don't. You can hope when logic says quit. You can love when you've been hurt. You can stand when everything in you wants to fall. These aren't abstract concepts. These are actual gifts being revealed in you. And here's what's profound. Those gifts that pain is revealing aren't just for surviving the pain. They're for fulfilling your purpose after the pain. The courage you're developing in this battle is courage you'll need for the battles you'll fight on behalf of others. The faith you're building in this trial is faith you'll need to encourage others in their trials. The strength you're discovering in this weakness is strength you'll need to carry the weight of the calling God has for you. Pain doesn't just reveal purpose. It develops the gifts necessary to walk in that purpose. Joseph didn't just discover his calling in prison. He developed the administrative skills, the emotional intelligence, the spiritual discernment, and the character he'd need to manage an entire nation's resources. The prison was both revelation and training. It showed him who he was and equipped him for what he'd do. Your pain is doing both. It's showing you gifts you didn't know you had, and it's developing those gifts so they're strong enough to carry the weight of your calling. Don't waste the pain by just trying to survive it. Let it reveal what's in you. Let unlock capabilities you've never accessed. Let it develop strengths you'll need later. Because the person you're becoming in this pain is the person who will walk in the purpose on the other side of it. Pain teaches you what really matters, so you stop wasting time on what doesn't. The fourth reason God uses pain to reveal your purpose is because pain has a way of clarifying what actually matters. When you're healthy, wealthy, and everything is going well, you can afford to spend time on trivial things. You can waste energy on drama, comparison, and pursuits that have no eternal value. But when pain comes, when you face mortality, loss, or suffering, suddenly everything comes into focus. You stop caring about impressing people and start caring about impacting them. You stop pursuing what's popular and start pursuing what's purposeful. This is what Paul meant when he wrote in Philippians 3 verses 7 to 8. But whatever were gains to me, I now consider loss for the sake of Christ. What is more, I consider everything a loss because of the surpassing worth of knowing Christ Jesus my Lord, for whose sake I have lost all things. I consider them garbage, that I may gain Christ. Paul's pain, his persecution, his suffering, his losses, recalibrated his value system. What he once thought was important became irrelevant, and what he once overlooked became everything. That recalibration is what pain does. It strips away the superficial and reveals the substantial. It removes the temporary and exposes the eternal. It burns off the trivial and leaves only what matters. And in that clarity, your purpose emerges because you finally see what's worth giving your life to. Job experienced this. Before his suffering, Job was wealthy, successful, and respected. But when everything was taken from him, when he sat in ashes, scraping his sores with broken pottery, his perspective completely shifted. Job 42 verse 5 records his revelation. My ears had heard of you, but now my eyes have seen you. The pain moved God from being something Job knew about to someone Job actually knew. And that knowing changed everything. Your pain is creating the same clarity. That health crisis is teaching you that time is more valuable than money. That relationship ending is showing you that being loved genuinely is more important than being admired publicly. That financial struggle is revealing that peace is worth more than possessions. That season of depression is proving that mental and spiritual health matter more than professional success. And as these truths crystallize in your pain, your purpose starts to come into focus. You realize you don't want to spend your life chasing things that don't matter. You don't want to invest your energy in building an image or accumulating stuff. You want your life to count for something eternal. You want to make a difference. You want to help people, serve God, and leave a legacy that matters beyond your lifetime. That desire, that clarity about what actually matters, is your purpose trying to emerge. Pain is burning away everything that was distracting you from it. The career you thought was your purpose, but was really just a job. The relationship you thought was your destiny, but was really just a distraction. The dream you thought was God's plan, but was really just your ambition. Pain is revealing what's real so you can finally pursue what's right. Look at Peter. Before his pain, before he denied Jesus 3 times and wept bitterly over his failure, Peter was confident, loud, and sure of himself. He made bold declarations about never abandoning Jesus. He thought his purpose was to be the strong one, the brave one, the loyal one. But his failure revealed something deeper. His purpose wasn't to be strong. It was to be restored and then strengthen others. After the resurrection, Jesus didn't disqualify Peter because of his failure. He restored him. And Jesus' instructions in John 21 verse 17 revealed Peter's true purpose. Feed my sheep. Peter's calling wasn't to be perfect. It was to shepherd imperfect people with the compassion that only comes from being broken yourself. His pain, the shame of his denial, the grief of his failure, revealed a purpose he couldn't see when he was confident in his own strength. Your pain is revealing the same thing. It's showing you that your purpose isn't what you thought it was when you were comfortable. It's not about building an empire, making a name for yourself, or achieving what the world calls success. Your purpose is about people, about impact, about using what you've been through to help others get through, about taking the lessons pain taught you and teaching them to someone else who's where you were. Pain clarifies. It removes the fog. It cuts through the noise. And when you emerge from it, you emerge with a laser focus on what actually matters. You don't have time for pettiness anymore. You don't have energy for comparison. You don't care about impressing people who don't matter. You care about one thing, fulfilling the purpose God placed you on this earth to fulfill. And that clarity, that focused, pain-purchased clarity is what positions you to actually walk in your calling instead of just talking about it. Pain connects you to God in ways prosperity never could. The fifth and final reason God uses pain to reveal your purpose is because your purpose is always connected to knowing God intimately, and intimacy with God is forged in suffering, not in success. You can know about God from a distance. You can believe in God theoretically. You can even serve God functionally. But you can't know God deeply without walking through valleys where He's all you have. Moses knew about God. He knew the stories passed down from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But Moses didn't really know God until he encountered Him in a burning bush in the wilderness of Midian. That encounter happened after Moses had fled Egypt, after his attempt to deliver Israel in his own strength had failed, after 40 years of isolation and obscurity. The pain of failure, the loneliness of exile, the humbling of going from prince to shepherd, that's what positioned Moses to meet God. And in that encounter, God didn't just reveal Himself to Moses. He revealed Moses' purpose. I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt. Exodus 3 verse 10. The pain stripped away Moses' self-reliance. The wilderness killed his confidence in his own abilities. And in that empty place, God filled him with purpose that was connected to knowing God's name, trusting God's power, and following God's leading. Your pain is creating the same opportunity. In your suffering, when you can't fix it yourself, when no one else can help you, when all your resources are exhausted and all your strength is gone, that's when you cry out to God with a desperation you've never known. And He meets you there, not just to comfort you, though He does that, not just to help you, though He does that too, but to reveal Himself to you in a way that prosperity would have made impossible. Job learned this. After all his suffering, after all his questions, after all his confusion, God showed up. And Job's response in Job 42 verse 5 captures what pain produces. My ears had heard of you, but now my eyes have seen you. Job moved from secondhand knowledge to firsthand experience, from information to revelation, from religion to relationship. And it was the pain that created the hunger, the desperation, the brokenness that made that level of intimacy possible. When you know God like that, when you've met Him in your darkest valley, when you've experienced His presence in your deepest pain, when you've discovered that He's faithful even when everything else fails, your purpose becomes clear. Because your purpose isn't primarily about what you do. It's about who you know and helping others know Him too. Paul's purpose is a perfect example. Before his conversion, Paul, then Saul, was a religious zealot who knew Scripture, followed rules, and persecuted Christians. He had knowledge, but he didn't have revelation. Then on the Damascus Road, he encountered Jesus in a blinding, painful moment that left him helpless for 3 days. And everything changed. His purpose wasn't about his abilities anymore. It was about knowing Christ. Philippians 3 verse 10 captures Paul's purpose. I want to know Christ. Yes, to know the power of His resurrection and participation in His sufferings, becoming like Him in His death. Paul's purpose was knowing Jesus so intimately that he could make Him known to others. And that knowing came through suffering. It came through pain. It came through beatings, imprisonments, shipwrecks, and ultimately martyrdom. Your pain is doing the same thing. It's driving you into God's presence in ways success never would. It's teaching you to depend on Him in ways comfort never could. It's revealing His character in ways prosperity would have hidden. And in that process of knowing Him through pain, your purpose is being revealed. Because once you've met God in the valley, once you've experienced His faithfulness in the fire, once you've discovered that He's enough even when nothing else remains, you can't help but tell others about Him. That's your purpose. Not just to endure pain, but to discover God in the pain and then help others discover Him in theirs. Not just to survive suffering, but to meet Jesus in the suffering and then introduce Him to others who are suffering. Not just to make it through the valley, but to learn that even in the valley, God is good, and then shepherd others through their valleys with that same truth. If this message spoke to your heart, like and subscribe for more truth. Your pain isn't meaningless. Your purpose is being revealed right now, even if you can't see it yet. Trust the process. God is with you.